Hello guys. Hope you guys already have your coffee, tea, anything, and have the energy to join us for the opening panel of innovation stage, Viction 2025. I'm Ken, core contributor at Saros. And I'm stoked today to have our panelists here to be talking about like one of the most hardest topics right now, tokenization and the future of capital market. I suppose that we should do like a round of self-introduction, right? So could you start first, Laura?
Thank you. So hello everyone, my name is Laura. Currently I'm the regional head for Avalanche to be exact. And then I'm look after the expansion of the ecosystem for Vietnam. We also had an activity in Philippines and Thailand as well. Pleasure to be here, and then excited to share more about what are the activity we have in Vietnam, especially on the tokenization space.
Good morning, my name is Andy. I'm the partners at HashKey's Tokenization. We're a leading digital asset group based in Hong Kong. Been around since 2017-18. We have a range of businesses ranging from crypto exchanges to asset managers. So we've been working with a lot of global players to bring assets on chain. So really looking forward to coming back to Vietnam and sharing this with everyone. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Darien. I'm the CEO at Equitize. We are a tokenized securities brokerage based in Singapore. We work with a lot of regional asset managers to help them originate and distribute their tokenized securities. So very excited to share about what we're seeing on tokenization trends globally and where tokenization markets are headed towards. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Excited to be here. So my name is Love. Currently, I'm the COO at F8A. We are a tech company. We've been around since 2021. We've been partnering with domestic and international partners to create blockchain and crypto applications. This year, we're starting to partner with private and public stakeholders to develop a CX crypto exchange for Vietnam. Excited to share how the CX gonna contribute to the whole tokenization momentum.
Yeah, so I suppose that the audience here and me personally, I'm eager to hear more about your insights and also a fun talk about tokenization. Yeah, so let's kick off with like a question, right? So why do you think tokenization is important for the future capital markets? And I would say like, why is it more popular right now in terms of, exposure and everything in comparison to the last 5 years? Darien, do you want to start?
For sure. I think if you look at traditional, financial markets, it's talking about capital markets, right? We have gone a long way. And if you look at different financial instruments, they have improved technology. We have mutual funds going to ETFs, and now we are seeing tokenized funds coming up as one of the key directions for tokenized securities. So I think it is a natural evolution that a lot of us are expecting, and ultimately what it really represents is just a shift in technology to make a lot of the underlying efficiencies a lot more fungible, right? And creating different use cases that weren't available traditionally in traditional markets.
Yeah. Eddie, if you want to share something?
Sure. Okay. So I think let me elaborate on that little point. I have a thesis that human beings are doing the same things over and over again, and we are making the same mistakes over and over again. In fact, when I see this whole trend of people talking about tokenization, I really see a deja vu that happened 10 years ago when we actually think about how do we actually more efficiently use money. I don't know if Vietnam actually probably did, because Vietnam has mobile pay and a lot of these like payments. 10 years ago, in fintech, there's a notion of what people calling unbundling the bank, which is trying to get capital to be more efficient rather than staying in your bank accounts. This is how a lot of the digital payments have transformed how people have effective use money, or people do wealth management or do lending. I think right now on blockchain, that is actually changing, that it's even more effective now. Now, why hasn't it happened for the past decade? Like you were saying 5 years, but this, I think blockchain has existed for a long, long time. Even like chains, like ecosystems like AVAX has been there for a long time actually, but nothing has happened. because there has been no way for people, or no easy way for people, to bring money on chain. And now with stablecoin licenses happening globally, with the Genius Act happening in the US and what's happening, what we're seeing across Asia, I think this is an exciting moment for when actually money coming on chain. These tokenized assets will actually have a value on it, which is no longer just an RWA back in 23, where we actually talk about, oh, let's just bring this on chain. Let's bring some of the ownership on chain. Let's bring some of the economic rights on chain. You actually have people buying it this time. And I think this is kind of why it's exciting right now for us to come here and share what we're seeing, because we are seeing a strong demand for tokenized assets in Asia, especially in China and Hong Kong. The number increase for our business has increased like 5x since July, and everyone is interested. How do you take advantage of these new money coming on chain? When money becomes more efficient, they're going to make investments. They need to have use cases. They need to think about what they want to do. And tokenized assets is actually one of the first things they think of, because this is something they're familiar with, and this is actually they can invest in. So it's really unlocking this liquidity that we're really excited about. And I think that if history tells us one thing, 10 years ago when digital payments became a way for people effectively to use money, I think the next 10 years for tokenization, when these money comes on chain, will be really, really exciting to see.
Gotcha. So let's dive a little bit deeper, right? So tokenization is definitely one of the most popular terms right now. So to your experience, like, what do you think is the most, I would say, prominent use case of the asset class right now that is actually working in tokenization, and what kind of asset class do you, I would say, project to be popular in the near future? Do you want to answer that, Laura?
Cheers. I can use this microphone. So I think that I would like to correct Andy's a little bit when he mentioned about, like, how long Avax and Avalanche have been to market. But at the same time, it's not many of the case for digital or like tokenization. That is not true, right? So actually, if you know, or if anyone's follow Avax or like Avalanche, we actually have a lot of the use case for the tokenizations. And then even within our team, within our ecosystem, we break it down into many different use cases. We got like tokenization of the loyalties. We also work with the different banks to tokenize the bonds, treasury, also fund. And also on the real estate, I think it's around a few weeks ago, we also announced that we work with one of the projects in the US to tokenize 240 billion worth of the assets, real estate, sorry. So just, we do have many use cases, right? I always say that one thing, and this is something that I agree, something that we didn't do really well is that we didn't shout enough about what we have been doing and what kind of project on the RWAs that we work with. So we're gonna continue to do it more. But when I go back to the context that you just asked, even in Vietnam, we actually work with one of the banks at the moment to on the tokenization project where we tokenize the bond treasury, so that it just like expand to the broader retail investor that the bank already has. So I think that there's many types of the tokenization that you can work with or you can see in the market, and it's gonna be more and more. At the moment, I can't really foresee on the side that what type of assets gonna get more popular compared with the other, because I think at the end of the day, when it's talking about why is smarter, how is smarter, and how a tokenization project can go to life, I think there are a few factors, right? So you have to talk the regulation have to be ready, and then at the same time the enforcement have to be ready. What if you tokenize and then just like no one enforce that? And at the same time, just like how you market out to other investor out there. So I think that just like when we have all of that, then it's gonna become more popular, I guess.
Yeah, I'm completely agree with Laura. I think like there's many potential access will stay in the POCs. But in order for the access to actually fly, there need to be like enforceability. There need to be secondary like liquidity activation, and then there's also like digital investor acquisition as well. When I look at what's next for tokenization, I look at what's like active out there for the regional market. I think comparing with China and Hong Kong, Southeast Asia have to me a bit different landscape. In my own opinion, I think that like the next killer use case might not be $1 billion bonds. It might be like 10,000 micro loan that globally traded right now. And I think that in Southeast Asia specifically, right now, microservice, microfinancing is actually like a very big topic, very trending topic. That could be the next use case for our regions.
Yeah, I think just to add on, right, one of the biggest use cases that, we are starting to see come up now is collateral mobility, right? Going back a little bit to capital markets, tokenization, I think one of the biggest, lessons that we learned from 2008 was, if collateral mobility fails at an ultimate level, it leads to a lot of different other failures that, can concurrently happen. And I think that's something that blockchain can solve right now. And that's really what a lot of tokenization of capital markets is trying to push for. If you look at this entire, use case as a whole right now, what we notice is that I think we're trying to build towards a future where moving in and out of an asset should be as seamless as and interoperable as possible. And what that means is, I think, generally being able to go from asset A to B to C, instantaneously, or or at least be able to move collateral between these different assets seamlessly. I think that's the direction that, and one of the biggest benefits that of blockchain that traditional financial infrastructures cannot really solve for. So I think interoperability and interoperable, seamless mobility of these assets are very important, which I think right now, I would say we are starting to realize that in our third phase of tokenization, right? With the first two being back in 2017 when we started seeing, Korea really push for STOs, but that didn't really take off because of lack of regulation. But that's of course a lot clearer now. And then in 19 and 20, we saw NFTs bring non-fungibles, bring real estate to the market. But, demand for that is still growing. It's obviously not as strong as what we are seeing in capital markets in terms of a product market fit. But now this wave of tokenization, we start to realize, okay, there are actual fungible use cases that we can have for tokenized securities, for tokenized assets. And these are how we are moving money, how we are moving assets, and how we are utilizing these assets. And I think that's a very, very strong distinction we should have and we should keep in mind when we look at tokenization moving forward.
Yeah, so in my opinion, we are still in a really good condition for the growth of tokenization. It's just that all of the condition must have been happening at the same time. So legal, the market condition, and many more. So let's dive deeper into the assets right now. Right. So we have been talking about real estate tokenized for a long time, but usually as of right now, I think that on the pitch decks that I see, they are not appearing that much anymore. What do you think about this pattern and why is that? Andy, you want to share about this?
Man, this whole real estate movement is a topic that we talk a lot about Hong Kong and in Greater China as well too. Because if everyone knows the economy of Hong Kong, majority of it comes from the property markets. The developers contributed to it. But I think the question was always that: do I really want to buy a property token, or do I want to buy tokenized property? The reason being is actually it's not as liquid as people think it is. I think for these types of investments, real estate, and especially tokenized assets, there's been, I think I quite agree with everyone just talked about, there's regulations that are required. There's is education, and there's also the fact that we need to find something that people want to buy. I think it's this. Everything else from financial assets makes sense because it is something that we all understand. I'm sure everyone in the room has bought some form of financial wealth management product in their lives. But asking to buy a tokenized real estate, I mean, to be honest, I buy a house to live in, not really to buy a house to invest in. And asking to buy, first thing to buy a real estate that they could kind of see but not touch, kind of defeats for a lot of people's purpose. I think secondly, the issue is that for real estate, it has been historically quite illiquid due to regulations or due to the way the market transacts. On chain, it's pretty illiquid right now. Do you want to buy something that's illiquid off chain and illiquid on chain as well? So the issue, I think, is not really about real estate as an asset class. It's really about liquidity as a whole in where we lived in. There are certain regulations that prevents these assets to be traded freely to the same extent as other digital assets that we see today. So I think until we have an idea on how to resolve that, it's hard to have any kind of these like real estate tokenized assets to be seen as an investment for the masses. And secondly, as a side story, my mom did ask me about this one day, and because she saw some pamphlet, and then I was like, "Mom, please don't do this. Please don't do it."
Yeah, I think fundamentally for real estate tokenization, it's not something new, right? It's been around in fact, it was one of the first things that were trying to be tokenized for I think back since even before NFTs were a thing, right? So it was the first form of NFTs, if you will. What we're seeing now, I think fundamentally, more importantly, it's when we select different assets to tokenize, we should be thinking about what is the underlying need for that asset to be tokenized? Is it for capital gain or for yield of the real estate, or is it more for accessibility, right? With the idea that if I tokenize a piece of real estate, it can be more liquid, and more people can buy into it. Which I think regulatory wise, we've started seeing cities like Dubai, out of Middle East, right? Be able to offer title deeds to be natively tokenized. I think that's definitely a step up from what we had for real estate tokenization before, where it was a lot of regulatory uncertainty, right? And it was never a direct shareholding of the real estate itself. So I think moving forward, there are two things here, right? One is we have to, of course, as regulations get clearer, then we start to realize, okay, we can tokenize this particular asset or we can't. And secondly, more importantly, it's that what is the ultimate use case that we're trying to go for when we tokenize a piece of real estate, right? If it's just yield, if it's just capital gain, I think what we have seen coming up right now are a lot of different stable coins that hold real estate as collateral rather than, giving a particular piece of real estate. I think that could be a much simpler solution. Ultimately, I think the product depends on what is the need that needs to be solved fundamentally.
Yeah. So I would say that, for real estate, like there are so many aspects to be concerned about. Yeah, legal is definitely one of that. And also, like, I think that most of us want to own a real estate, but like it usually is too hard, and somehow divide it into different parts, like as tokenized, can be much easier. But also as investment, I don't think it's gonna be as good as the other asset class as well. So that's the thing. Laura, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, so I think it's never the problem about the technology when it's come to the tokenization of the real estate, right? So I think for me, why it haven't fly yet, for a few reasons. So one of that, of course, just emphasize one more time on the legal aspect. So for those who are Vietnamese, you probably know that for the ownership of a real estate, you actually get a red book, right? It's just like a piece of the paper that are issued by the government agencies to say that if you own that piece of land or the real estate. And that there are many areas in Vietnam that actually you haven't been able to get that red book yet. So it means that it's not there yet. So you want to skip one step by, you haven't even finished all of the digitalization, non-blockchain here, right? Just normal digitalization for the ownership. And then you want to take another step to the blockchain. So I think it's a gap over there on the legal or the maturity of the legal landscape. And the second thing is that I do think I just emphasize one more times on the enforcement of the, if you had the tokens, how you enforce the ownership for that. We actually consult the few local governments on how to work on the tokenizations. And real estate is one of the aspects. And actually one of the biggest issue for them is on the process. They don't know how to do that. There's no legal framework. There's no case study. There are no story that you can use in other country and you can apply in Vietnam, because of each country you have a different legal aspect when it's come to the real estate. So that's why they also lack of the knowledge on that. And then the last one is actually the mismatch in terms of the gap between, all of us talk here, we are technology, we work in tech or startup, but we are not real estate or investor. So it means what the real estate investor think and what we think are different. We think that we can tokenize that, but they don't think we can. So I think there's a way of mismatch over there in terms of the gap. And unless that we can sell, I don't think that you have one thing and then you can just move ahead. You really need all of that to be able to make it happen. And I think that I'm probably gonna. Andy earlier he told me he's a very I don't want to say negative Andy, but he kind of say, yeah, I don't believe it. I don't believe that's gonna happen until I see that, right? So just to summarize, that is probably gonna take time and it's not gonna happen very fast. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely one.
I think there's mixed feeling about tokenizing real estate. And by mixed feeling, I mean mixed feeling between domestic citizens and international investor looking into real estate tokens in a country. Now, I'm with Laura. I know that there's a lot of lands, properties in Vietnam that don't have red books yet. People live in apartments, building that don't have a paper certifying that they own that, except a contract between them and the real developers, the real estate developers. But I think tokenizing real estate will solve that because, let's say regulatory wide, you only be able to tokenize a real estate as long as the real estate have some documentation. The feeling that, okay, I'm buying a tokenized real estate access that be certified by a lot of legal authorities, entities, and developers give me a bit more of a trust that I be able to access new kind of investment with some kind of assurance. I think that is kind of the assurance that international investor will look into more when they look at real estate tokens. But being a domestic, being a Vietnamese, I mean, it's bad to say that I don't have that same kind of belief. But being a builder, being a developer, part of the whole tokenization ecosystem, I think that's what we need to solve. Real estate is fundamentally an offline business. Tokenizing it is not a problem in terms of technology, as Laura said, but tokenizing or digitalizing the full cycle from KYC to operation tax and making sure that data transparency is not just the builder games, it's also regulator and it's also the public-private partnership that need to solve that.
Yeah, so I guess that we're gonna milk this topic for a while until there's a successful case, right? So currently we have been seeing a lot of traditional players, major players like Robinhood and many others who are doing tokenized stock and T-bills and a lot of that. So we can see that it is going to be global and more accessible across areas right now for tokenization. So what do you think about this movement, and how your own project is contributing to this future? I think we can do a round here. What do you think about it, Laura?
So I think that with the current, the fact that everyone here is today, we have this events where it's a combination of the government agency and also the private sector. It say a lot that of the government moving toward the, like a bit more on the supportive side for blockchain as a technology. So I think that with digitalization and tokenization is probably going to move toward a very positive, wave. And I think that it have to be step by step. So it's going to be, probably we like you mentioned, right? We need to see a bit more like some of the case study first, something small, something work before it scale. Because for anyone who work in technology, that there's many different phases. So just phase 1 is pilot, phase 2 is scaling, and phase 3 is like production. So that's why I think we are still at the pilot phase, so to test out. And I think that we do actually, even for Avalanche, especially in Vietnam, currently we are doing a lot of piloting project. So for example, I mentioned we work at a bank. We actually have, tokenize or we apply blockchains for the donation platform symbol, because of that is where you need to see transparency. At Life, we also work with Tulajur, which is like part of, you probably see the Tulajur Cafe outside, and it's a subsidiary of CJ Group. We also do the tokenization for their loyalty platform. And then we also work with the bank to digitalize or like build the digital assets platform to tokenize the bond, treasury, and stock. We also work with the local government to advise on, how to work or apply blockchain for payments, for real estate, for edtech, and for tourism, right? So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of movement happens. And Avalanche, we because of, with the technology that we have, is allow us to work both from the public and the private side. And then we will continue to do so. But I think that we're still at the private, early phase at the moment.
Yeah. Eddie, you want to share?
Sure. Okay. So, we work with a lot of asset managers today to actually bring their funds on chain as a way. One of the reasons is on top of what you mentioned about the tokenized T-bills. I think a lot of people are thinking, can we bring some of these tokenized assets on financial assets on chain in preparation for the future, where, for example, stable coins, they will need certain assets to be the underlying, to be part of the underlying asset to actually maintain a peg towards this currency. We work with a lot of non-standardized assets today as well too, not real estate, but actually what gets me excited is actually entertainment. We've been seeing a lot of people coming to me and say, I will have a lot of IPs. I have a lot of these communities. They want to see whether ways tokenization can work with them. So these are a few, we're working on a few projects like that, just to at least, I think, try and bring some of the assets on chain in order to prepare what Laura and a lot of people have mentioned, a brighter future when regulations become a lot more clear. But we're not stopping there, actually. We're going beyond the boundaries of what we see in terms of these regulations. And one of the things that got me really, really interested was actually what the US SEC chairman, Paul Atkins, said, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, about Project Crypto, which is a way they're redefining how these tokenized assets are being seen on the market. Today, these are very permissioned assets. These are assets where only select number of people can actually get access to. And actually, I don't think that's the way these assets should be. Just because right now it's only available for most institutional investors, but for us, even at HashKey, what we want to push is, can retail actually get access to these assets? Can they actually buy these assets, and can they be something that anyone can actually invest in? That is something that we're actually working with a lot of our partners to actually push the boundaries beyond what we see today. But more importantly, we want to see if we can leverage what Darien just mentioned a little bit earlier. How do we actually leverage the power of blockchain on the financial side of things? Can we potentially do more collateralization on chain to more efficiently use money? Can we actually can we actually do strategies where you can actually bring a better investment returns for these assets. So there are a lot of things that we're trying to do, pushing not just waiting to see where regulations happen. So to Laura's point, what about me being negative? Actually, that's true to a certain extent. But seeing what we believe, I will believe I believe it when I see it, but I will not wait until I see it. I will try and push the boundaries a little bit, and once I see it, I can work with it in the end. So I think there's a lot of things happening in this sector, but we just move on. Yeah.
So I think what's very interesting, Ken, since you brought up Robinhood, right? I think what that really tells us, and adding to Andy's point as well, is that what we realize with Robinhood's push is that retail investors, or investors in general, they want access to these products that traditionally were not available for them, and they want to be able to move in and out of an asset, like I was sharing earlier, a lot more seamlessly in an interoperable manner. This is something that is limited and cannot be done by traditional rails because of traditional settlement times, clearing systems that are 30, 40, 50 years old. And that's exactly what blockchain is trying to change. So it's nothing. It's nothing like out of the world. It's just a new piece of technology that enables the next wave of financial technology, right? Of seamless, interoperable movement of collateral, movement of assets, movement of money. And I think where we are seeing tokenization of capital markets move towards right now. Yes, there are tokenization happening across different sectors, and in different forms and different spectrums as well. But I think capital markets, and I might be biased, right? Capital markets have, I think this year, seen very, very strong product market fit, in the sense that we know exactly what are the use cases we should be building towards. And that's what our team at Equitize are very much focused on, trying to figure out what will be the best utility, what's the best kind of demand that we can try to drive. And I think one of the biggest concerns about tokenization of capital markets today is, generally speaking, native demand is still growing. It's not exactly there yet. But what I always tell people is that, utility will drive demand, right? And we have to first build those infrastructural rails before we can have utility that can drive the demand. So demand will come, we just have to put it there. So I think that's where we are. We're definitely beyond, at least for capital markets, piloting stage. Because we have seen some of the biggest asset managers already actively pushing tokenized funds into the market today. So it's really just a matter of time, and it's really just a matter of how accessible these rails would be, and that's where I think we are most bullish about.
So I was an employee of a US company before, like remotely. I was in Vietnam. Naturally, I'm more familiar with like the kind of the financial economics landscape in the US. But there was no way for me to trade stocks in the US without going through a broker. Let alone like even to exercise my ESOP, my employee stock option, was very difficult. When stock when stock was tokenized, it became globally accessible, and I got way better educated for those stocks. I think like as we tokenize stocks for Vietnam, that means globally means 24/7 trading. That means global distributions. That means like fractional ownerships. That easier access for retails for everyone. And as I'm representing a crypto exchange today, I think that's highly relevant to the crypto exchange. Even though crypto exchange is not live yet in Vietnam, and the government is doing a lot of teaser, but we already preparing ourselves with a strong compliance stack and standards. So we can already support with the compliance, the KYC AML assurance for tokenized stocks. And we can be also the partner, the platforms to provide more educations, but also transparencies for tokenized stocks in the Vietnam landscape. And I think that that's opening access for retails, for institutions, but of course for the public companies that having their stocks just traded on the stock exchange right now.
Yeah. So it brings me to really interesting. It just popped up in my mind, right? So tokenization happened, but what about post-tokenization? What about the liquidity and what do you think about, where will the demand be coming from? Especially because as we tokenize something, it still needs to be traded. So where is the liquidity and also the demand is coming from? So Darren, I think you're pretty stoked for this.
Yeah. So how I see it is, post tokenization, right? Once we get to a stage where tokenization markets are a lot more mature, how I see it is, I believe that it will be ultimately abstracted away. So in fact, if you look at Hong Kong right now, one of the largest brokerages, Futu, started distributing tokenized funds. Robinhood, of course, we mentioned earlier, are also tokenizing and distributing tokenized equities. And how I see it is, moving forward, all these traditional brokerages, all these traditional distribution channels will start to realize that, tokenization of capital markets really ultimately is just making the asset available a lot more effectively, a lot more efficiently, and going from a money market fund that is traditionally T+0, T+1 to instantaneous settlement would mean a lot for retail investors, and we will get to a point where it will be easily accessible, but it will be abstracted away, right? I will go onto a brokerage app, buy into a tokenized money market fund, and to me, I'm just buying into I wouldn't even know that it's tokenized. I wouldn't even feel that I would have to on-ramp, buy go from fiat to crypto to fund. All that would be abstracted away, and it would just be a regular UI UX that I would face in a traditional brokerage or in an exchange or wherever I'm buying this asset from. And I think that is the direction that we're all headed towards, where blockchain is no longer inaccessible because it's too unfamiliar. We will be headed towards a point where all this will be abstracted away. It will be very, very easy for anybody to buy into any asset, and I think that's the future of tokenization.
Yeah, so you're building an exchange, right? So is there any kind of insights into this?
Duong is right. Regulation is not just regulation is one of the doors, the main doors that we need to open, but liquidity is another thing. We can't have a mature tokenization market without liquidity. And from a standpoint of a tech company, tech can't solve that problem alone. Tech can bridge chains. We can talk, we can bring opinions to the regulators to open more doors, but it's a coordinated effort from the whole market to bring, to open liquidity, to work with actually the middle operator, the issuers, the custodians, the investors, so that they all join force into providing an aligned incentive for the tokenization markets to actually fly.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I think we pretty much cover many areas about the topic today, tokenization and the future of capital markets. I know that you guys have a lot more to share, especially in the insights into and also many good discussion. But I think our time is up. So really big thanks to our panelists here today talking about topic, and really appreciate you guys here and listening to us. Please stay tuned for the next keynote. Thank you guys.